Hi everyone, welcome back. Happy to have you here. We are today in today's video. We are going to go through a couple of my older photos, and we're going to just re-edit them, kind of to get back into the motion of editing, showing how to process, how I process my images, and hopefully give you guys some outlines on editing and stuff. The three images for today that we're going to be showing are images from my trip to Great Smoky Mountain National Park in fall of 2020. I'm actually planning a trip around the same time this year to go back, so I'm hoping to go see the same kind of views and everything, and kind of give you guys the more updated look at the park, and then also, pardon me, hopefully show you guys like everything that's going on, how the park's possibly changed, that kind of stuff, but also to go and capture some new images. I also am doing this to kind of give people an idea of you can go back to your older photos that you have cataloged from years ago and still find good images that you have either not edited or edited, and then at that time learn new editing techniques that then have expanded your horizon and kind of change how your images look. So today we're going to go through that and show that today. So this is from one of the overlooks on 441, which is in between Cherokee and Gatlinburg, in the Smoky Mountains. As always, my first thought, I always go to the temperature, and I want to just kind of like, you know, get the temperature kind of like where I want it a little bit, which is probably like right in that general like. There's always this blue hue in the mountains in the back in the Smokies, so I want that still prevalent, but I also want it to be a little warmer to show the fall colors a little bit more. I also go in here and I always do the lens correction stuff because that helps with giving you more of what you're working with, everything. And then, if you guys don't know this, in Photoshop you can actually do this. You can sync your data from everything. So we're just going to go white balance, and then we are going to go to lens correction and synchronize, and that will go across the board for everything that you've done editing. That way you don't have to do that when you go to the next image. We're going to go back up to the basic tone curve, and then we're going to just start working on our editing process. So I want to drop the exposure down a little bit, bring the highlights down just a little bit because it gives those clouds a little bit more definition. You can bring the shadows up just some, and the blacks. I will drop the blacks a little bit because I don't want the, you don't want the clipping, and if you see the clipping, you kind of want to pull that out a little bit. Then I will go into here and go into clarity a little bit to kind of just sharpen it up a little bit. And then of course, a little bump in saturation to pop those colors a little bit more. And then you see a little clip there. You can then after this you can kind of play around with a few different things to make this a little bit better for you. For me, you could go to color grading if you wanted to and kind of play with your midtones a little bit, see how the midtone colors are changing. I don't usually do that. If I do anything, um it'll be in the tone curve, and then I kind of just play with the tones a little bit, kind of to just see how I can curve curve that get that tone curve just a little bit better, and then how I want it to kind of show. This to me is one of the better, looks of this because you have the brightness, but then the dark in here. It does look to me a little off. So there is two ways you can do this. You can actually go to here if you wanted to adjust it. See, it fixes the mountain, but you lose a lot of it. Or you can go to cropping and you can have the auto crop. If auto crop doesn't work, then you can kind of figure out how you want your point to be, and just find your points and see if it will fix the. That's how I like actually now, as I'm looking at it, because you have the mountain curve it is kind of like it looks like it's off centered a little bit, but I just think that's how the mountains are flowing and everything. So it kind of gives you a better flow of everything. So with how this looks, I'm going to leave that like it is. We're going to go to our next one, which is one of my other. Sorry, I knocked my mic over. Which is one of my other overlook photos that I went to, and then we're kind of going to do the same thing. We're just going to kind of drop the exposure down, um, bring the highlights down just a little bit, pull the shadows so that these pull out, and then leave the blacks alone. Add some clarity to get some sharpness. I am going to have to bump the exposure just a little bit there. And of course, add some saturation to make the, because like you see with saturation, everything kind of looks, without the saturation, everything kind of looks flat. As you give it a little bump of saturation, the color kind of pops back in there a little bit. So that gives you a way to kind of show that color in the distance, and then also color in your foreground. You have the foreground color here, your midground is there, and then your clouds are your top. Your eyes visually can see the separation and everything, which makes it a great composition for the photos and stuff. So you can pull the black clipping back a little bit, and then if you wanted to, you could add the exposure back a little bit, so you don't like overdo it. But to me, right there is probably my sweet spot. As I said, everything kind of looks really crisp and clean. You can see the tree lines and the colors in the distance, the clouds. In this photo too, if you wanted to, and this is a little tool that some people don't realize is in there, but I love this tool. You could actually have the auto detect of the sky. If you wanted to play with that sky a little bit and make that sky pop, this is a way for you to do it. But also, when you're doing this, make sure that you're not messing with your other parts of it. So you kind of gotta do a little bit of brush removal, just to kind of like make sure that's just the clouds getting it, not your mountain scene and stuff like that too. And then, since I did see a couple spots I did erase, you're gonna want to lower that brush down a little bit, and then kind of just brush it back in there for it, just to kind of, there you go. And then with this, what this is, you can actually go in and you can just work on that area of the photo. Same thing can be said about the other side, and I'll show you a little trick on that in a minute. So like if you wanted to brighten, you want to kind of create a little bit moodier clouds, you can kind of deepen the, kind of work on that a little bit and kind of get where you want it to be visually and stuff. Add more clarity to it, that kind of stuff. You can add more sharpness, detail. There's a lot of different tools with this you can do. And then if you don't like the mask completely, you can actually go here, go back to the mask, choose the mask, and you can actually delete all mask, and it will just delete the mask out for you, and you're good to go. Gives you a way to kind of work on the sky. The other thing you could do, and this is the other one that I enjoy doing because this is a really good one, is the linear gradient tools, which is you can do this, you can flip this down, and then you're just working on the area where the gradient is. So the bit darker the area is going to get more, and as it goes up, the lighter whatever you're doing is going to do for it. Okay, so you can like move your exposure down. You can fix it. That way you can do that. This is a tool that I find to be the one I use a lot because I don't carry actual. So when I'm out and shooting, I don't carry the square filters because I don't honestly. I don't like carrying this. Like I don't mind carrying square filters that are the solid ones that show your the solid ones that show like do a whole exposure, like the not the like each of the stops to like give a complete, like cut off 10 stop, 8 stop, that kind of stuff. I like those, it's fine. But the one gradients that are like where it's like one half is dark, the other half is light. I just never had any success with them, and that could be just me personally never having any success with them. That's okay. So I wanted to actually just take this mask off because I don't need it on this one. So we're going to delete this mask, and then we're going to go into this last photo, and then I'm going to move these all over into Photoshop and show you how I finish my photos. All right, so we have this. This is another scene of in the Smokies. So we're going to go back over to our regular panel, and we already have, like, we can do the adjustments a little bit on the color temp if you wanted to. I want to do this a little bit differently on this one because I have a different idea for how I want to do this. But I want to pull out some shadows, pull out some blacks, drop the whites, but I don't want to color, I don't want to drop it that much of the exposure, but also I want to pull the blacks back down a little bit. So one thing I noticed is this is kind of off centered a little bit. So go down here, find this, and then it looks a little bit more even across there, which is what I wanted. And then go in here and add your saturation a little bit, give it a little bit more color pop. And you can actually add some vibrance in there if you wanted to. Then come here and play with the color a little bit. Like, I think people are too afraid of playing with the colors a little bit in photoshopping. Make sure your clipping masks are done and away, because that takes away from that. I think people are too afraid to play with color, and as a photographer, you are an artist. Create your art. Get it into your mindset that you can do what you need, do what you want with your photos, because they're your canvas. You are painting with light. How you visually see things or might be different from everybody else, but at the same time, you want to go ahead and you want everything to look how you want it, because you have your editing is your signature on your photos. So I'm actually gonna move my camera over just a little bit because I don't want to cover the photo up. So my finishing is always, when I come into Photoshop, I see this and I always go into my plugins I have, because I love this set of plugins because it gives you so many things you can do. I use Color Effects Pro and Silver Effects Pro so much that I love them, and they're not like a sponsor or anything, but I wish I could figure out how to do that. So this is how you can actually fix your color casting if there's any kind of color cast issues. I actually love how the blue is playing in here down there. You can get the correct contrast if you want. I'll add a little bit of that, but mine is this dynamic contrast. Look, watch how this photo, and I will preserve some of the shadows and the highlights in this because I like that a lot, but watch how this changes. Look how dramatic the photo looks a little bit. I'm going to bring the color cast a little bit down. Look how dramatic that looks and how different it does. But I'm not done yet. I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm going to add another layer to finish this. So with that, then I'm going to go into my my adjustments, which are here, and I am going to play with my saturation just a little bit to give it. You see how the saturation is just adding depth? It's not overly doing it, it's just adding enough depth from that, and you can see so much difference in the colors and everything. To me, I love how this looks. With the way I print my photos, and I print my photos, all my photos are printed on a All my photos are printed on gliche paper with a bright, vibrant ink. All this will pop out, and it will look fantastic. Um, definitely a way I want people to see things and stuff like that. So we're gonna go back here. We're gonna go into Color Efex Pro 4, and then I'll do another video down the road on editing and shooting for black and white, because there's an art form to it, and being able to visually see black and white when you're out in the field is so much different than being able to just shoot color and then convert it into black and white. There is some art. There are some prospects that go into that. So see, the color casting really isn't a thing in this one. We are definitely going to add a little bit of contrast, but we're definitely going to do this dynamic because you can see the definition coming in, and that's what you want, and everything. So add that. And then we're going to flatten this image. And I always drop it down to an 8-bit file from 16-bit because I always work in 16-bit TIFFs beforehand. And then this one. This one might need the same kind of like what we did with the first one, adding the extra saturation layer on top after we're done, but we won't see it till we get done. But there is so many different things you can do. You can add actual graduated neutral density filters if you wanted to, which will, fix your tonalities and stuff. Like, see, you can actually add those, fix the lower tonalities. You can blend them together. You can actually shift the rotation of the filter. I don't like those at all. I just don't. I always just usually use this Pro Contrast, which I love the way this contrast works out. So the color cast isn't really a thing in this one, but the correct contrast is a little bit. So I'm going to add a little bit. But this dynamic contrast, look how that changes. Look how the light in the bottom lights up. And as I said, we're definitely going to add in that saturation layer to get these colors to pop a little bit more. Because fall in the Smokies, fall anywhere in any time that you can see the color changes and stuff, is magnificently beautiful in person. Especially after a fresh rain, you can definitely see the way everything pops out and stuff after a fresh rain. But sometimes you don't have that ability to see it right off the get go. Actually, I picked the wrong layer, so I'm going to cancel it out. Make sure you always grab the right layer. So hue saturation, and then we're going to just see how that we go from being at 0 to just a little bit. See how that colors pop here, then you have the blues in the background. That is key in the Smokies. Like, you can see that blue visual for miles if you're up high enough. I mean miles. I have been at the highest point in the Smokies, which is Kewaunee, and watch sunrise, and you can literally just see that blue hue for miles and miles. So there's that. We're going to flatten that image, and we have that here. So I'm going to, when I get done finishing the video, I want to add these at the end so you guys can see them. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down in the bottom. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you guys want to see more content, I am going to be working on my, coming forward, I'm working on traveling and getting ready to shoot more as it's coming to that point of the year where the fall is going to be kicking in. I am going to go to the Smoky Mountains for a 4-day retreat. I am looking forward to showing videos, sharing everything with you. Like and subscribe on the YouTube channel for that. Also, I have TikTok, and I have also stuff that will be going on my website. You can also find me on Facebook. Just look up Jimmy McRoberts Photography. I'll put a link down in the bottom so you guys can follow the page if you like. Also, if you guys are interested, there is going to be more stuff coming soon for the Go and Create Art series. I have a lot planned for that coming up that will coincide with the fall coming in. I have the following trips planned in my head right now. I just don't have definitive dates yet. I am going to be going to Dunes National Park in northern Indiana, which is on Lake Michigan, for hopefully to catch some storms on the lake, which is one of my favorite things to do up there. Also, just to shoot some different things We're going to go from there. I'm going to go to Clifftop Rock in Red River Gorge in Daniel Boone National Forest down in Kentucky. I am also planning a trip to Flat Lake Falls, Eagle Falls, and Dog Slaughter Falls, I hope. Those are three of my favorite waterfalls in that area. And then also my trip to the Smoky Mountains. I'm going to go to a few different places to see when we're there. Can't wait to share it all with you guys. Again, like and subscribe. I hope you guys are having a great day. And again, go out and create art.